FHFA's recent rejection of the administration's debt forgiveness program, what specific programs would you propose that would help with homeowner mortgage relief while at the same time strengthening the community banking system?
Well, there's a couple things in there. First and foremost, the debt forgiveness program elimination is just a tragedy. This is one of those things that's really is something that's aimed at helping homeowners stay above water. And if they were, there's so much proprietary, predatory lending that was going on and attacking folks. And now we're in this terrible recession. We need to keep the bottom from continuing to bottom out. And that was a program that would have been successful for it. Now doesn't exist. So I would fight for similar legislation to try to continue to help people who find themselves underwater. One of the other things, though, that is brought up there is they're moving away from a community banking system. In fact, I was just experiencing this week. I did, one business walking into a community bank and one walking into a major bank, and the service is just entirely different. In the community bank that I went into in Waterbury, they knew who I was. They understood everything that was going on with me and my family, and we got great service and great care and an understanding of the circumstances surrounding everything. You go into a big mega bank like Bank of America, which is also a bank that I have an account with, and they don't know who you are. And even if they do know who you are and they want to try to help you, they have to keep going to the corporate office, and the corporate office has to go to another corporate office. And when you're a homeowner who is trying to figure out how can I make right, how can I make my payments, how can I get out of this mess, if it's dealing with someone who's in New York or some mega bank out of Delaware, you're not going to be able to get that understanding, and they're going to continue to get drowned out. So we need to really encourage to move back to the community banking system so that we have partners in our towns and in our cities helping us when times get tough. The other thing is we got to get the big banks out there to start lending out some of the money they have. They're sitting on $2 trillion of profits, and they're not helping people who are just trying to make their mortgage payments, to take them away, and then they're not even lending that money out to small businesses to help job creation, to help businesses grow in their community, which is something that could help that person who's underwater find a job and make their payments. It's a vicious cycle, and it's a really sad state where we've ended up. So we need to make sure we're putting some teeth back in the SEC. We need to make sure that we're working on policies that are going to make it harder for banks to get away with not doing what they're designed to, what they're supposed to be doing, which is helping people have loans, helping people start a future, and being shepherds for them along the way, rather than just taking and sharing the profits at the very top.
Thank you, Mr. Roberti. I'm going to ask so the others can just get an answer briefly. Ms. Esty.
These are serious problems, and this is one where I think I have to point something out. Mr. Roberti is a co-owner of a lobbying firm. Citicorp is one of his clients. Citicorp is one of the banks that was responsible for the mess we are in with our mortgage crisis. And Mr. Roberti, who has no work history in this state, who has no service history in this state, has launched a super PAC in this state dedicated to buying him a seat in Congress, attacking me and Mr. Donovan, something we have never seen before. Citizens United, which we have all as Democrats decried as a terrible, horrible decision that threatens the transparency and accountability of this country. Mr. Roberti, I'm sorry, I don't see how you can stand here and tell the people of Northwest Connecticut, a place I've lived and invested in my family and my community for 18 years, how you, as a co-owner of a lobbying firm with Citicorp as your client of that firm, can assure us that we should trust you to stand up for community banks, that we should trust you to stand up and do what's right for Northwest Connecticut. I'm sorry, I find that hard to believe. I think we've had enough of lobbying groups, and I urge people to read the Torrington Register Citizen, and I agree with them. It should scare every voter in the 5th District that a powerful DC lobbyist is trying to install a personal congressman in our part of Connecticut. Thank you.
Mr. Donovan?
Well, somebody once asked me about casinos, which people go for fun and entertainment. I said, well, the reason they make a lot of money is because people lose a lot of money. People made a lot of money off the housing crisis, and that means a lot of people lost money, and that's a real shame. They were not treated fairly, and we need to be more aggressive with those who ripped us off and make changes. I think the federal government and government in general should do more to help people. On the state level, I worked with a group that we went around to the state and we met with homeowners who were in trouble. And we got them in touch with legitimate lawyers who helped them out. And they were able to mediate, in many cases, their arrangements and stayed in their house. But you know what? There are other people, lawyers calling people up and giving people the wrong information, and people giving money to people. You've probably run into people you know who've lost money because they trusted someone who was selling them a bill of goods. We need to be more aggressive and say to all those homeowners, we have a plan. Here's where you can come in. We will help you. We will work with, as we did in Connecticut, as I traveled the state. Here's the mediation. Here are the lawyers you can trust. Here's the banks that you can work with. And we should be able to give judges the right to say, we can change the agreement here and bring down the costs of housing. We need to do it in a systematic way. This is a real crisis in our country. We have to give faith. We have to give faith to the people in our country who say, I'm in trouble, where do I turn? We should have a place for them to turn where they can get help and rebuild our community.
Okay, I want to thank all three of you, but the time has come for closing statements. By the law,